In project and portfolio management, financial performance forecasting predicts the financial outcomes and costs associated with specific investments, projects, or entire portfolios. This strategic practice is critical for projects and portfolio managers within the business to plan, monitor, and control the financial aspects of their initiatives. The primary objectives of forecasting financial performance are to keep projects on budget, prevent overruns across all projects, proactively reallocate resources or investments, meet financial goals, and gain visibility into the overall financial health of the portfolio in context of the entire business. So who's involved in performance forecasting? There are two key roles involved in forecasting, and exact titles are going to vary across businesses, so we're going to personify them for this video. We'll call them budget custodians and financial stewards. Budget custodians, they own the data inputs for forecasting because they're responsible for tracking and reporting expenditures within their business unit, project, or portfolio, along with monitoring expenses against committed funding or budget. Financial stewards, well, they analyze financial information communicated by the budget custodians, associate that data to all insights within the business, as well as external market factors, to forecast the performance of the portfolio and all portfolios in order to drive toward profitability and meet organizational goals. Now, depending on your business, these two personas may be the same person, distinct individuals, or a collaboration of multiple team members. Regardless, the responsibilities are what we're focusing on here, and those responsibilities remain distinct. Forecasting financial performance is a challenging thing to do. It requires intimate knowledge of all the internal and external factors that can impact a project or portfolio's use of budgeted funds and resourcing needs. And from a tooling perspective, budget custodians can make more accurate forecasts by keeping a clean and up-to-date record of all expenses, and by having an efficient method to forecast expenses by categories and timeframes. Financial stewards, they need a real-time view of the projected expenses compiled and summarized for their specific line of business, portfolio, or segmentation of projects. If there's no work management system to support these needs, teams will spend a large amount of time compiling these forecasts. But even worse, resource shortages, unsatisfied customers, and delays will be felt at the project level, and the likelihood of maximizing profitability will certainly be stifled for the business. So how do we address these challenges? We have 5 recommendations to address these challenges in a sustainable manner and in the hopes to drive toward increased profitability. Foster a culture of financial accountability. Leverage change management best practices to drive adoption. And this is especially true if budgeting and forecasting will be a new responsibility for your teams or new people on your team. Optimize collaborative processes for proactive and asynchronous communication. We all want less meetings, and it's possible to achieve less but higher quality meetings when people know what should be occurring with them and they have the right tools to execute between these meetings. Number 4 here, manage data accuracy proactively through integration and regular review. Get teams the right data where they need it. And then lastly, standardizing methodologies and tools for more effective forecasting. These components are crucial for effective collaboration between the budget custodians and the financial stewards, so that they can successfully manage and forecast financial performance. Let's now explore a design that shows how we can leverage Smartsheet to create a solution which integrates financial and operational processes. The goal of this design overview is to stimulate ideas for you and your teams on how to enhance the accuracy and the efficiency of the processes that go into forecasting, while also addressing some of the recommendations by utilizing Smartsheet. Quick level set here before we get into it. This design uses a premium application control center. While we won't delve into the full details of Smartsheet's control center application here, it's important to note that it's a highly advanced tool that can be leveraged in Smartsheet to manage a portfolio of projects across all stages, including planning, defining, executing, and monitoring the project lifecycle. In addition to Control Center, this design will also cover where to integrate data and how it can be used for forecasting in the context of managing your projects and portfolios. The process begins by collecting all project information in one central project intake sheet where each row represents a project. Smartsheet forms can be used here to collect preliminary high-level project information like what you typically find in a project charter, such as project name, project manager, budget estimates, key deliverables, things of that nature. Whether all information is submitted initially with the form or more data gets added after submission, the important thing here is that there's one central area where all project data points can be collected during project scoping and initiation. Furthermore, you can leverage Smartsheet alerts and automations once the project information is submitted to collect additional data points without having to get other folks to come back into the sheet. Once project scope and cost estimates are finalized and the teams have committed to going forward with the project, a portfolio manager or solution administrator would then create a standardized set of sheets for the budget custodian and their project teams to track the budget and forecast. These two sheets, expenses and budgeting and forecasting, serve as the sole tools for reviewing and forecasting expenditures for a given project. Now, there are many, many styles of budget tracking spreadsheets out there. And the one thing that they all typically allow for is the ability to summarize expenses by category and date. So you'll obviously get that in Smartsheet. But this design also hits on 4 additional components. Smartsheet allows you to have in your budget trackers to really supercharge forecasting. These 4 are data integration, the ability to enrich the integrated data, forecasting capabilities, and lastly, real-time connectivity to report on and visualize data. And we're going to dig into each one as we kind of step through this design canvas. If your company is like most businesses and you're at least using one financial accounting software for expense tracking, audit, tax purposes, full-on accounting software, and an effective budgeting and forecasting solution in Smartsheet makes that data accessible to those who need it, but shouldn't be in the financial accounting software, by way of integrating invoices and/or actual expenses into Smartsheet. Making that data available for collaboration and reporting via integration ensures that the budget custodians have a dependable and accurate account of what's been reported from an expenses and invoices standpoint, so that they don't have to chase down and merge all that data. Here's an example layout of an expenses sheet that is pulling in data from an accounting system. Number 2, the ability for Smartsheet users to enrich the integrated data. What does that mean? This means that while the integration can bring over system data, you can enrich it even further by tagging, statusing, or segmenting data on that row with supporting columns, lookup sheets, or automations. Adding your own data on top of system data enables you to create workflows, produce reports, or visualize data on dashboards without being limited only to the fields and values that come from the accounting system. This is super simple. This is a super simple thing. In this expenses sheet example here, we are integrating Smartsheet with an accounting platform and bringing associated expenses over as rows. While the system data is great, we may want to be able to budget, forecast, or report by specific categories that aren't in the fields or values within the accounting software. So in this category column here, I can review and label expenses with the naming conventions that should be used for budgeting and forecasting. And this manual categorization that I showed here works for some teams, but depending on how your system data comes through, you may be able to set it up to auto-categorize transactions with the help of formulas, Smartsheet automations, or lookup sheets. There's a lot of room to get creative here and auto-categorize and make the manual enrichment a little bit more effective. Next up, forecasting capabilities. So that's really what we're here for, right? So standardized budget trackers with integrated data like this one here allow budget custodians to visualize accounted expenses and have an area to forecast by category and time period in one view. So let's walk through the sections we have here in this tracker. At the top here, we have some of the project charter type data being cell linked in from our intake sheet. This is a control center functionality, very helpful to bring in some of the information that was entered upstream. We also have some top level metrics on overall spend and forecast. The next section is actual expenses. So this design is using formulas to automatically categorize expenses by time period from our expense sheet. This means no manual calculation is necessary. The data is retrieved through integration. Categorization is happening in the expenses sheet, and the formulas are doing all the heavy lifting for us to figure out what was spent and in what time period. Next, arguably the most important section here, budgeting and forecasting. So this is the area where project managers or budget custodians can manually enter forecasts by month and category to forecast expenditures. In this example sheet, I only have 1 year of column set, but you can certainly expand on that so it makes sense for the duration of your projects. Again, this is a simpler design for inspiration, but you can have all kinds of metrics and variance formulas to help model the forecast on the sheet. I'm keeping it very simple for this video so that you can kind of get a grasp of how everything connects. Zooming back out now for our last big component here. After entering expenses and forecasts for each project, Smartsheet's ability to summarize, report, and visualize all of the forecasts across the entire portfolio helps meet the needs of that financial steward that wants to see information summarized for the projection of financial performance across the whole portfolio. They don't need to wait on reports to get produced. No one needs to export data from multiple systems and then merge that across different file sources. And this is because Smartsheet is already integrated, right? We showed the expenses sheet that was pulling in system data. The budget and forecasting trackers are where budget custodians are projecting the costs in the future and budgeting, tracking actual expenditures. And then Smartsheet dashboards and reports can be connected to those budgeting and forecasting trackers to roll up the information. These dashboards are incredibly customizable, and they can be configured to represent your lines of business, project types, regions, or whatever segmentation is needed, so long as that tag or data value is getting entered in Smartsheet. Here's an example of what a portfolio forecasting dashboard can look like. In this example, we're aggregating some really high-level KPIs. We have graphs showing funding percentage spent by strategic initiative, projected expenses by month, topped off with a view at the bottom to see the details of every project in the pipeline, and a link to navigate down into those projects even further. And this is just an example. Remember, don't let this box in your view of what you are able to do with dashboards in Smartsheet. Forecasting and budget variances, expenses by project type, 12-month forecast outlook, project manager, status updates, all of it. Whatever the metric chart or report that you're looking to elevate to tell your story, Smartsheet dashboards are an incredibly powerful and customizable tool to overlay across the budgeting and forecasting trackers and automatically roll up the information. I do want to acknowledge with Control Center, data rollup is a lot more automated, but even if you're not using Control Center, automated reporting and dashboard is still achievable. There might just be a bit more of a manual lift for your solution admin or Smartsheet users when those new budget tracking and forecasting sheets are created so that you can connect them to your reporting and dashboard environments. So to close this out, to effectively forecast finances, budget custodians need integrated expense tracking, budgeting, and forecasting tools that are connected to robust reporting and data visualization features. A design like this one in Smartsheet helps financial stewards with real-time and trustworthy data, enabling them to make informed decisions and accurately forecast financial performance to manage their portfolio more efficiently and drive increased profitability.